So just before we get fully started here, just got some ground rules to go over. If you've got any questions, please just put them into the question dialogues box in your GoToWebinar, and we'll have some time at the end to answer any of the questions that you may have. Actually, it looks like I've got a few more people just joining on, so I might just hold off on going before I jump into the next slide. All right, looks like everyone's kind of joined now. I'll keep moving on. All right, so we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna run through the traffic analysis tool. So this is just the general road traffic tools that we're going to start looking at. So let's look at the basic size of it, where you can visualize and analyze traffic on the design roads. We're going to set up this traffic study area and have a look at running a quick simulation to get things moving on the design. All right, so first step is to run the InfraWorks traffic analysis tool, is to ensure that the roads in your design and analysis area are actually set to design roads. So to convert a plan road to a design road, select and edit the alignment, and then right click and convert to a design road. So you can see here all of these plan roads are getting changed over to design roads. So now under the roads and analysis menu, and we can select the traffic simulation tool. So you'll note that the design roads are now highlighted in the light blue colour there. And as we start sketching the bounding box, you'll notice that as we hover over a road section that's defined, it'll pick up that little blue node that needs to be there to define where traffic will come to and from within the simulation. So you can see where before we hovered over to an intersection, it wasn't blue. So now we can see that those are all the nodes, and any of the non-design roads, the plan roads, are shown in red there. So now what we can do is we're going to start to add a basic simulation in here. So in this case, we're going to just pick the quick simulation. Obviously we named the traffic study area first, and now we're just going to run that simulation. So this quick simulation is just some generic numbers. It's not traffic analysis data or official data anywhere. It's just some generic numbers to get traffic moving. So as you can see, our animation player has now popped up. We can just press play to that and start to see traffic animated on the road network that we've defined. You can speed that up if you want to, just to get that visual representation happening. So you can see orbiting around is just as per normal within InfraWorks. We can now start to have a look at some analysis from this information. So here we're going to change it to a per lane approach, so we can start to see the queue length and the average delay time. So we can now change that to a per lane approach, and we can see what those delays and what those effects are. Now, keeping in mind again, this was just a quick simulation just to get traffic moving, but it's just showing functionality here. So down the bottom here, we could write a report out for that if we wanted to. Probably not any use at the moment. It's really just to get things moving and get things looked at. So you could run some videos out of this if you wanted to just show it as an animation, I guess. So I guess that's the basics of the traffic analysis tool. So sorry, let's move on now and have a look at navigating the interface. So what other options are there that are available to us? So we're going to go into the traffic panel now and see how we navigate in the actual traffic panel. So here we are, we've run our quick simulation as we just did a minute ago. Now to get into the traffic analysis panel, we just right click the study area and then select traffic analysis panel. So once the panel loads, you can see we have a view of our InfraWorks 360 model, and all of the traffic data is going to be on our right. So once this loads up. So here we've got our panel. You navigate around just as you were previously in InfraWorks. It's just the same model, and you can see that we can play the play one of the animations or the simulations, sorry, that we had running the quick one before. So the next important feature is under the demands tab, and again demands. So this is where traffic volume data is located. So here it shows the number of vehicles going to and from the different node points. So I'll just reorientate the plan, the view here a little bit so we can see that. So as I click one of the nodes, it's going to show me where the traffic is coming from and where it's going to. So that's the volume of traffic going to and from, or going from a node to another node. So you see here we can click around and have a look at each individuals, or we can click node groups and we can see all of where all of the traffic is going from that node. We can also click down the bottom here and we'll see what traffic is coming to that node. So obviously that's where we can start to add all of our custom data later on. So the other one we want to go into is demand divisions. In this case, we obviously don't have people. We have private vehicles within this analysis. So here, these are percentages of the traffic. So you could change those percentages as needed for your analysis. So we're next going to go under the controls and intersections. Here you can find all of the different properties about that intersection and how that intersection is performing per leg, per lane, and we can switch through all of the different numbered intersections that we have. So it's giving you how is it fixed signals and that free flow and give way, stop signs. We can also add a signalized intersection in and start playing around with the phasing and things like that in there as needed. So you see, these are just the main tools. Obviously, when I was flicking through before, there's a lot that you can start to manipulate and change within the traffic simulation. So there's many editing options. All right, so I guess that's the basic navigations of the traffic panel. So let's move on now and have a look at how we would add some custom data to that. To the simulation. Now, of course, where you source that information from is obviously critical. Getting it from the right source and making sure that it's accurate is obviously critical. The data that I'm going to use here is I've just generated it to display how these things work. All right, so we're still in our same traffic analysis panel. So the next step is to create a custom simulation. So to do this, we just simply select one of the base simulations and then copy by clicking this little green plus here, and we just name our new simulation. So that will have taken all of the data that was within that quick simulation now into our next simulation. So there's a few things up front that we could change, whether it's is it an AM or a PM, the demand and the times and the trips that are happening within that. So again, it's going to be back in those demand panels that we want to go into, and we can see here now we can just add those numbers from a source, obviously, if that's where we had that information from. So we're just going to go through and add a whole lot of different things. So as you can see, you can change them individually, or you can change them as a group, and then that changes them via percentage across the other groups there. Similarly, we can do that down the bottom as well, or we can change it globally as a total number that we may want to have. So I've just added in the numbers that we want to work with here. So we just close and save that once we're happy. So we go into demands and divisions now, and we want to add more trucks to this simulation and less cars. So as I said, this is worked off percentages, so we're just going to change it to 10%, and that will take 5 off the small car groups. Now you can obviously have this set up however you needed it. So we just click apply and then OK, and now we can just close out of here. We now want to run that simulation, this new simulation, into our model group here. So we click narrowbeam one, and we'll just run that simulation, and it'll go off and calculate that for us. So once it's run, again, we can just play our animation and have a look at the effect of the true volume of traffic has on our road network. So you can see there's a lot more traffic, and we've got more trucks in there. We're going to go and have a look at this, the approaches and what's happening there, and we'll start to get a good understanding now of what's exactly going on. So again, go per lane, and here we can see it's giving us our queue lengths and different things that are going on. So you're hovering over here, we can see that we've got a 31 metre queue length and an average delay, I think it was 18 seconds there. Again here, clearly that's not going to work for our design. We would need to extend that slip lane, and that our roundabout's getting backed up all the way through the design. So clearly, if they were real volume numbers, we've got a bit of an issue up in that poor little roundabout at the top there. And it's giving you quite good feedback. So the other thing we can do is, if we had multiple simulations from a traffic study, we could have a look at those quite quickly and see the difference between those animations and see the real-time feedback of what's going on there. So it's very quick to flick between the two, just like the option tabs are within the designs. It's very quick to flick through these. All right, so that's, I guess, the basics of setting up some custom traffic data. Now, as I said before, you can get in and start manipulating all of the phasing diagrams and changing around the intersection, and you would probably need to do that, of course, for any of this sort of stuff. So let's now have a look at running out some reports from this tool. So obviously we can hand this on downstream. So selecting the simulation that we want, click on the fetch report. This is going to go and write that out now to the design area that we choose. Traffic reports, select the folder, run that out. We can now open up the different ones. So you can see there's cyclists, freights, lots of stuff. We're just going to go down, and we're interested in here is this is the vehicle trips. So here we are. We can see here all of that information that we've got now. There's many tabs in here, and with all those CSVs added up, we can now pass this downstream to a traffic engineer for validation or to amend our information, and we could then, you know, patch back in those numbers that have been changed by the traffic engineer. Gain a lot of information here from the different vehicles and their travel times. So you can see we can get all of our information out of here and pass down the line to a traffic engineer once we've finished our simulations in InfraWorks. So let's now just have a look at you know, the next step on from just the basic traffic analysis. We're going to have a look at mobility simulation here. So let's have a quick look at mobility simulation in InfraWorks 360. So this is a step on from just the traffic simulations, like I said, and it will analyse door-to-door journeys made by people using a chosen form of transport, obviously, that you're defining. These simulations can be analysed visually, making it easy to see issues along a route and the cause of a delay through an animation on a larger scale. So just as we did before, it's defining the study area through the traffic simulation. However, there are many more tools available for modelling different modes of transport once you've selected the mobility simulation tool. So as I said, the main difference here is that the simulation is working on door-to-door routes and the vehicle choice that people can find the best route to their destination. So these dynamic route vehicles can use multi-vehicle modes of transport. So a person can be walking, then change to a car, then to a bus. And it's not just about road vehicles. We can analyse people walking on foot as individuals or in groups. You can do it in buildings and in urban spaces in here like this, queuing for a line at an airport. So we can do cyclists and travelling on taxis, in buses and trains. So mobility simulation shows how all of these forms of transport interact together within a fully multimodal analysis. And again, it's the visual tool that we can use here to find problems a little bit better graphically than we could maybe if we were just looking at a whole bunch of traffic engineering tools available to us with just a whole bunch of numbers and spreadsheets. All right, so that's it for this brief introduction to getting up and started. I really wanted to mostly show here the functionality of how we get in and firstly run that quick simulation, and then how you can start to edit that information with real-world data so you can start to run a traffic simulation. So I just want to give another plug here for some more upcoming webinars that we have. So collaboration for Revit and A360 team with Sam on the 29th of September. Then I've got another What's New in InfraWorks 360, the latest release on the 19th of October. And then there's how many BIM products are there and how do they, what do they do and how are they purchased on the 26th of October. So I'll just jump into a couple of additional resources. So there's our ANZ YouTube channel, and if you want to know more about the traffic analysis tools, if you go into the InfraWorks 360 YouTube channel, the product design team from the traffic analysis team have got probably about 3 hours worth of really detailed workflows about changing some of those the intersections and the signalisation and things like that, which will be quite important. They're available there. That's my contact details if you want to get in contact with me. And now with that, I'll have a look and see if there's been any questions asked in the question panel. Okay, so Robert's asked 3 questions in here that I can see. So size of the simulation, how many intersections can be done? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure of the limitations on the size. Robert, I'll get back to you on that one. There's probably going to be quite a few questions that I'll need to get back to people on because it's quite a cumbersome little tool, and I'll probably divert a lot to the product team. Hence why I sort of gave you that heads up of there's hours and hours worth of information from the product team on this. So I'll have another look. So how easy is it to modify vehicle classifications, and can new ones be created? Again, the classification, I'm not 100% sure what even you're asking there. You can edit pretty much every setting. You saw as I was clicking through there were so many settings available in there. You can change all the different sizes of the vehicles to, all sorts of information can be changed. Again, Robert, I'm going to take those questions and pass them directly to the product team and get you a better answer than what I just gave there. So how is the data displayed for a level of service and queues for intersection, mid-blocks and networks? Again, yeah, I'll definitely get that one from a product team. How are pedestrian routes determined? So once you're in the this is for mobility simulation. So again, it needs another whole hour or so webinar for that, and you will find the detailed descriptions on how to do that on the InfraWorks. I might even just jump back to that slide so that you can definitely write that InfraWorks YouTube channel down, Robert, and you'll find a whole lot of how-tos on how you do that. Effectively, it's through that traffic analysis panel, and you're selecting node points as we did with the cars. You're just defining them within within that model, and then you're giving them rules about the intersections and where they can walk. So Robert, you've asked the majority of questions. I'm definitely going to take all of those off and get back to you about all of those. I want to give it another minute. If you don't see any other questions, I'll end it up. If questions do fly through in the end, I do get a report out of all the questions that were asked. No, they've dried up. So Robert, I'll get back to you on those questions that you've asked, and like I said, hit up that InfraWorks 360 YouTube channel for a lot more detailed descriptions about how this is all used and worked.